Okay, so in this lesson, we are going to solve the question 4 of the Wassce 2025 called Mathematics. So as it is given in the question, we are saying that from the top of a lighthouse, 100-meter high, the angles of depression of two fishing vessels are observed at 48 degrees and 36 degrees. The foot of the lighthouse and the sea level are on the same horizontal, and the two vessels are of the same side of the lighthouse. So in this question, we are to illustrate this given information in a diagram and also find the distance between the two vessels. Okay, so this one we've done angle of elevation and angle of depression, but in this case, we are going to solve a question on angles of what? Depression. Yes, very, very easy. Before we proceed, let me quickly introduce myself once again. So my name is Evans Okai. I'm still your mathematics facilitator. This is Wassce TV. Kindly subscribe, like, and share. If you go to YouTube, you get us. You can also follow us on TikTok, that is Wassce TV. Okay, so let's quickly see how we can go through this question. Okay, so let's take a look at this picture we have here. Okay, yeah, so this is what we have. That is, you can see the vertical object there, and you see two objects. So the two objects represent our two vessels. These are our ships. And when we talk of fishing vessels, we are talking about other boats or ships that we use to catch fish or we use for fishing. Okay, now looking at the tower there, that represents our lighthouse. Okay, yes. So for angle of depression, that is when maybe an observer is above an object and decides to look at the object downwards. So when you are standing on top of a roof or maybe a tower or wherever you are standing, you see that you can look straight or forward. The moment you decide to bring your eyes down to look at what is on the ground, there will be an angle formed. Okay, that angle from when you are moving your eye straight downwards, that angle formed, okay, and then it will alternate to an angle formed at the horizontal from the object to the foot of the roofing or the tower or whatever the observer is standing. And that angle is what we call what? Angle of depression. Okay, so let's look at this one. So we know that from the top to the ground, that is the height, okay, to the ground of the lighthouse, that is the height. And also from the ground level of the tower to or the lighthouse to the last vessel, that is also what the ground level, the distance between the foot of the lighthouse and the other or the last fishing vessel. So we were given the height as what? 100 meters. Now, as I said, if someone stands on top of the tower, if you observe, you see that the person looks straight like this. Okay, it focuses straight. The moment the person bends the eyes down to look at the first fishing tower, then it will be in this form. Then there will be an angle formed. The moment the eye was moving from wherever it was initially, there will be an angle formed there. Okay, and that angle is what was given as what? 48 degrees. So the moment the angle from this angle will alternate, okay, at the angle which what has a level or horizontal level from the foot of the lighthouse to the what do you call it, the object, the first, that is the first fishing or vessel, and that angle is the same as what? 48 degrees. Okay, yes, so that is the alternate angle we are talking about. That is the angle of depression. Okay, so that is the first angle that is formed when a person decides to look at the from that top, when he decides to bring the eyes down to look. That's the angle formed. Okay, great. Yes, so and that is the first one. Now we are left with the last vessel. Okay, that is the fishing vessel. So once the person looked at the first vessel, then definitely he's going to move the eye and looked again to the other vessel, and that one to an angle will form there, which was given in the question. Okay, like that. Have you gotten that? Good. So you realize that so let's go back and see how it was formed. So the person moved the eye again and looked again. So you see that the angle will form there. Okay. So from the initial point again, this angle is going to form, which was given in the question as 36 degrees. And once it forms there, it also alternates at um, the point where we have the second vessel. Okay, so from that vessel to the fourth, okay, at the horizontal line, that alternates there, and the angle from there is also what, 36 degrees. So you see that, so from the foot of the lighthouse to the second um, vessel, and that is what the total distance between the foot and the second what vessel we have it there. So you see that you have this nice shape here. So let's look at how it is formed there. So we are getting this shape formed from this lighthouse and these two vessels. Okay, yes. So let's move on and see how we get our shape. Good. So you see that we have a nice shape. Okay, now in the first question, that is the A, we are asked to illustrate the information in a diagram. So that is the diagram we are talking about. We have illustrate, but let's throw more light on the diagram. Let's make it very nice. Okay, so if we try to we'll add more what things, okay, to make it very nice. Okay, yeah, so if that's the case, then we can have this as our nice diagram, and that answers the first question. Okay, so let me quickly interpret this diagram. So from A to D, that is the distance from the foot to the top, and that is the height of the lighthouse. And also from A to B, which is represented by P, and that is also what the distance between the foot of the lighthouse and the first vessel. Also from B to C, also represented by Q, is also what the distance between the two um, vessels, that is the first vessel and the second vessel. And also from A to C, which is also represented by P and Q, that is the total distance between A and what the last vessel, between the foot of the lighthouse and the second vessel. Okay, and then for the angles, these are the angles of depression when the eye decide to move from the initial position to the ground level to look at the two vessels. These are the angles that we have gotten there. So once we are able to get this nice diagram here, and that illustrates the information. Okay, someone may decide to ignore the P, Q, and all that. Okay, someone may also have a different way of illustrating this information in a diagram, but it must look the same. Okay, it must look similar. Okay, yeah, so that answers the first question. If that's the case, let's look at the B part. Okay, so for the B part, let's consider triangle ABD. Okay, so for triangle ABD, that is what we have the height and the angle. Okay, that's 48 degrees, and then we also have 100 meters as the height. So because the question says we should find the distance, we are going to find the distance between the two what do you call it, the two vessels. In that case, the distance between B and C, but we need to know the distance between what um A and B, which is our P. Okay, great. Great. So how do we find P? So we are going to employ the use of, because we are given one angle which has the opposite side of uh, 100 meters. Then the only appropriate way we can do this is by using the trig ratios. Okay, we have the sine, the cosine, and the tangent. Okay, great. So if we had been given two different sides, then we would have used Pythagoras theorem to solve this. But once we are given only one side and one angle, then the trig ratios will be appropriate. Okay, so in this case, looking at this, if we are finding the P, since the angle which is 48 has, it is opposite to the height which is what 100 and P, then we are going to deal with what the opposite and adjacent, where we take 100 as meters as opposite and then P as adjacent. So in this case, the two and the only trig ratio that will be appropriate is for the tangent. Okay, the tangent. So if you are using trig ratios, then we are going to get that is what the tangent, which is given as what tan theta, is given as opposite over what adjacent. Okay, in that case, what will be our opposite? Opposite is 100 meters, and our adjacent is what the P. So we need to work out what is tan 48 degrees, which is given as what 1.1106. Okay, so we are only going to find P. In this case, if we try to find P, then we are going to get P to be equal to 100 meters divided by 1.1106, and then will be our final value for P, and that is what 90.0414 meters. So once we're able to get the value for P, then we can proceed and look out for the other side. Okay, so we can also consider an triangle ACD. Okay, ACD, which we have as the bigger triangle. Okay, which is a right angle triangle, and the angle which was formed was what 36 degrees, and then we still have the height as what 100 meters. But as for the distance between A and C, that is between the foot of the lighthouse and the second fishing vessel, that is where we say is the total. So we added the P to Q. So we had for P plus Q as the distance. Meanwhile, we have already calculated for P. And this also, we are applying what the tangent property to solve this. Okay, so we are still using opposite over adjacent. In that case, tan 360 and 36 degrees is equal to 100 meters plus P. Meanwhile, we have P as what 90.0414, and we also have tan 36 degrees, which is given as 0.7265. Then we need to what do some simplification here. So if we try to multiply to them, we are going to and do this. Okay, so if that's the case, then we change the positions, and that is going to work for us. So we are only finding what the Q. And why are we finding the Q? Because the question said we should find the distance between the B and C. Yes, the B and C, which is the distance between the two towers. And you know that the Q in our case represents the distance between the two vessels. So whatever answer we get for the Q, that is the distance between the two vessels. So we do a simple algebraic expression like this. We group like terms, and then we find what our P or our Q. Yes, in that case, our Q now becomes what 47.6048 meters. But remember in the question said that we should correct to the nearest meter. So it's just a matter of correcting to the nearest whole number. And in that case, the nearest whole number becomes what? Q is equal to 48 meters. And that answers all. Okay. So that is it. Okay. So it answers all, and that is the answer for the B part. If that's the case, then um, we can conclude that um, the distance between the two vessels is what? 48 meters. That is very interesting, isn't it? Yes, very interesting. So we see that this question is very, very easy. So when we are getting questions like this, you don't have to waste my time. You need to relax, chill, and be able to solve this question. So if that's the case, then let's end here and continue next time. My name is Evans Okan. This is Mazvis TV. Please kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on TikTok. So see you next time. Now in our next video, we are also going to solve some of the elective maths Wassce 2025 questions. We have been solving some of them, and we still have few of them to look at. We also have few of the core maths to look at. So we shall take our time and go through each of them. So I want each and everyone to follow me on both YouTube and what? TikTok. Please, when you come, we take our time, we do all this video explain. So when you go to the YouTube channel, take your time, relax, and watch everything else, get the concept well. All right. So see you next time. Bye bye.